What is going on, y'all? My name is Jonathan Lewis. I'm a videographer based in Toronto, Canada. Well, I'm not actually based there, but you know, everybody from Canada says Toronto, but yeah, anyways. So one of the questions I get asked the most, I've had a video like this done before, but I need to address it again. S-Log3 in regards to real estate specifically. When we talk about weddings, that's a whole different ball game. That's a whole different ball game, but we're talking about S-Log3. I'm going to make this as easy as possible for you if you have never shot an S-Log3 before. If you follow these steps, I promise you that you'll get a better understanding of how to shoot in S-Log3. And I'm specifically talking about the A7S III, which is a Sony camera for those who don't know, or the A7 III, which are full frame mirrorless cameras. So there's a lot of ways that you could shoot S-Log3. Everybody has their own rendition of how they can do it and how they suggest you do it. This is my personal way of how I shoot S-Log3. This is what works for me. This is what I'm comfortable with. This is what I like to do. Very, very simple, guys. When you're shooting and exposing for S-Log3, I've done all the research for myself. I've made all the mistakes, and what I've seen that has worked for me is just overexposing by 2 stops. If I have to do 1.7 stops, then I will, but my go-to exposure is 2 stops overexposed. And what I actually do, to be specific, I expose until it blinks, and then I dial down either my aperture or my ISO to get it to 2 stops over exactly, as much as possible, give or take. Maybe, you know, that is where I play at that range. I play around with that range at 2 or maybe blinking, and I just dial it down a little bit to get it at 2 stops exactly. And again, given the lighting situations, I will do 1.7 at some times, but 9 out of 10 times I do go for the 2 stops overexposed when shooting in S-Log3. So what we're gonna do here tonight, guys, tonight being what it is right now for me, might be morning for you. Good morning, good night, good afternoon. I'm gonna show you a recent project that I just did where I shot in S-Log3 on my A7S III, which is the camera that I'm recording with right now on a 17-28 Tamron lens. The reason I shot in S-Log3 and why this is an amazing experience for me and for you to see how you shoot in S-Log3 is because I shot a condo, and condos sometimes are very tricky to shoot in real estate videography, specifically because the windows are overexposing the light that is coming in, and then the camera's reading the light that is coming in from the windows and not the light that is in the actual unit itself. So you could get very confused sometimes if you're just starting out and you start to expose for the wrong thing. So hopefully if you just take what I'm saying, you know, with a grain of salt and make it apply to how your workflow will work for you. But this is just what works for me. When I'm shooting in a condo, I aim my camera down at a part of the condo where it's properly lit without the camera sensor seeing the windows, and I get that to the 2 spot. I get that to the 2 stops over. I don't expose while the camera is seeing the windows because it's just not the proper reading. Again, there's a whole bunch of different ways you could do this. This is just what works for me. So what you're gonna see here is a condo that we shot down in Toronto, and what I did was, how I got my reading was I put the camera and I placed it at a good spot in the condo that is not showing the lights of the windows, the light from the window coming out inside of the condo, because now you're getting 2 different readings. You're getting the reading from outside of the window and the reading from inside the window, which is the unit itself. So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna take you to my computer here on the Mac Pro, and I'm gonna show you my editing process of how I do S-Log3 editing. Sorry for the rambling. Let's just get right into it, and I'll show you guys what I'm doing. We're gonna head right into Final Cut. Boom, boom, boom. We are going to create a new library. Gonna open up where the footage is. I'm not even gonna title it anything. This is just for test purposes. I'm gonna import. You're gonna create a new project. Just gonna call it S-Log3 test. I like 2K timelines, and I keep it at 248 by 1152. Boom. And yeah, so we're gonna go ahead. I'm just gonna put in any random clip, just so you guys could kind of get an idea of exactly what I'm talking about in regards to the lighting. So please keep in mind as well too that I've already done my process of the light metering, as far as putting the camera sensor where I want it to read the light metering, and then I've already gone and started filming. So that step you won't see in this video, but you're just gonna see everything else after that step. This clip here, gonna drag and drop it down into the timeline, and as you can see, let's make this a little bigger for you guys. As you can see, the footage is very dull. Okay, it is very dull. It's very washed out. And the great thing about the A7S III is that I could lock the white balance. I don't know which cameras you could do that with. I only know about the Sony cameras, but with the A7S III, I could lock in the white balance. So I've already gone ahead and done that. So I know that my white balance is not changing every time I go into a different room or any different part of the house. It's just that one consistent white balance, and I just chose whichever one looks the best that will look consistent as possible. So that's what you're seeing right here. So let's go to the living room. So I usually go to the living room. Let's get to that part there. I go to the living room, which is right here. And as you can see, in this area here, all the windows are giving in the light. All the lights are off, obviously. And I'm using my light source. For the light source that I'm using is the light from outside, the natural light with all the windows open. So what I would do is, in real life, I would get my light metering from here down, from this area down. In real life, see what the camera says, what it's reading at. Is it reading at 1.7? Is it reading at 2 stops over, 1 stop over? And I would just adjust my settings on my camera to make sure that I'm getting 2 stops overexposed in S-Log3 based on the reading right here. This is what I would do in real life, not in the editing process. I'm just showing you what my camera's seeing in real life, what I get my metering at. So once I get that, then I'm like, okay, I got my 2 stops over, I'm good to go. And again, depending on the lighting situation, I will do 1.7, but my go-to is 2 stops over. So now, once I have this, I basically lock in my white balance and I go ahead and I just do my thing. And this is just me walking around, going to all the rooms, going through the kitchen. And this is shot in 4K 60 because I know there's certain areas that I want to speed up and slow down. And I just do a very basic color correcting and a basic color grading. So like for an area like this, I'm going to my color corrections here. I want to see the scopes and I want to see the histogram. This is where everything takes place for me. So now what I do is my highlights. So I know I'm 70, I'm like in between right here, about like, I'd say like 85. So I bring up the highlights, I bring it to about here, get that peak to about there. Then I get my mids right to about there. So the mid-tones being about here, and my highlights, because I know that even though I did get the reading from here, I know there's a lot of light still being shown here in the full image. So I don't go for this peak to get to 100. I don't do that. Like, and you can, I guess, like it still looks okay, but I just basically what I try to aim for is for this area here to be hitting that first line, that 100 line. But I guess you can do this if you want, if it's not making too much of a difference, but let's just keep it around there for now. Then I did my mid-tones, and anytime you move one thing in the highlights, it's all a ripple effect. So if I move it, any adjustments, then I got to move back down to my mid-tones. I got to move that again and get that peak right at 50%. And then I go to the shadows, which is down here, and I get that boom right to about 0. And then if it looks too dark, then you could adjust as you need. Like I'll do it right about there. So in Final Cut, you could either just do the basic color corrections, and sometimes my agents actually like the raw look of the S-Log3, that white desaturated airy look. it really depends on the agent that you're working with at that time. But me personally, I like to explore, see what looks the best. There's not one standard way of doing this, guys. Please keep that in mind. Don't get stuck on what you hear out there on how to color correct or how to color grade or how to use S-Log3. Whatever works the best for you, whatever you think looks good, use that. There's no rules of thumb. The only rule of thumb is be as creative as possible, and yeah, just take it from that. So now I see that and I'm like, you know what? Let me see how it looks. Go back here. Let me see how it looks with a LUT. I just want to see how it looks, and I'll just experiment. I'm in no rush. You shouldn't be in one either. And I get my adjustment layer, and I go over here. I type in custom, and I drag custom onto the adjustment layer. Just take 2 seconds. My computer's acting slow because they're screen recording. Anyways, boom. And now I have some stuff here already, and I like, okay, obviously I'm not using that. So I like that. See, so now I'm done with this. So I don't need this anymore. I want to see how this is looking. This is my type of look. So now I could scale it down just to about, I say 55%. And I'm like, okay, it's not too away from what I had it as when it was raw. It just kind of gives it that little oomph, which I like. All right. It's not bad. It's not bad. The main thing is that my windows are not blown out too much. My room right here is properly exposed, and it's not overexposed. So I just kind of play with it based on that. I see, okay, this is with it on, this is with it off. It's very, very subtle, but the darks get a little darker, and the light, and the highlights don't get too desaturated or too, like, you know, taken away. So I like that. And then I kind of see, like, how does this look? Like, yeah, I like that. Like, now you put some music on that. I like that. I like that. How does this look without it? Okay, so I already know I want to bring up my highlights in this one. So what I would do is, because my shadows are so low, I'm gonna bring up my shadows, and I'm gonna bring up my highlights a little bit more. Because remember, now you're doing it with the LUT on, so you're seeing how it's actually gonna look. And I like that look. I actually really like how that looks. And then again, I just toggle it pressing V. This is it on, this is it off, on, off, on, off. I like it. I actually really like it. And then just for a little bit of saturation. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this up a little bit, guys, and I'm gonna show you how it looks edited and with some music. And this is what I would deliver to a client, to an agent, as a final product. Stay tuned right now. So guys, we are back. Just fast forwarded a little bit for you guys you don't have to watch me do that. But yeah, so I hope that, like, you know, after this video you guys could get a better idea, a better concept of how to use S-Log3 in your workflow, specifically for real estate. I think it is the best option to use, especially when you're doing condos, because of so many different light sources coming into that one place at a specific time. You want to make sure you're not overpowering, you're not overexposing when you don't need to, and you have everything exposed properly the way it's supposed to. So this is like a rough draft, so don't judge it, but judge it as well too. Just, I wanted to show you guys how easy it is to incorporate S-Log3 in your workflow, specifically for the Sony camera, and specifically for the A7S3 and the A7 III. Those are my two cameras of choice. But yeah, so everything's rendered out now. So let's hop to the screen and I'll show you guys what it looks like. Here we have, like, again, there's no entrance. It's just showing you guys how it will look with a little color grade. Right, it's nothing big. You could see the difference there. And yeah, little choppy there. So for this one, I'm going to take off the smooth cam. It's a little better. Done, just like that. So guys, I hope you guys have a little better idea of how you could incorporate S-Log3. This is just literally just a quick little edit to show you guys how you can do that. I hope you guys have learned something in regards to S-Log3. My basic method is this, guys. When you're shooting S-Log3, try to remember overexpose by 2 stops. If you do that in every single scene that you go to, every single scene that you show up, whether the lighting is an external light like I'm using right here for a light box, or you're using the natural light of a condo for instance, try to get to 1.7 or 2 stops overexposed. If you could get there, you should be able to use S-Log3 in your workflow, no problem. I used to be scared to use it till I kind of just, tweaked it the way that I like it. And this is how I like it. So guys, if you have any questions, any concerns, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Other than that, guys, please like, comment, subscribe to this channel. I hope you guys learned something. In the meantime, in between time, let's get it ×4.